Hello, my name is Gil Zilkha. Welcome to my channel. This is my series entitled Essential Classical Music, where we look at the best recordings of the major classical music works. This video is taken out of my larger video covering the major symphonies. If you enjoy this, I hope you'll go over and look at that larger one. Just know that you don't have to watch it all in one big gulp. It is divided into chapters. It's real easy to just click through and choose whichever symphony that you're curious about. So I hope you enjoy it. Now we are to Franz Schubert. Almost a contemporary of Beethoven, a little later than Beethoven because he died young. He died only a few years after Beethoven. We almost think of him that way, but he was actually born I think almost 30 years after Beethoven. But Schubert was an early Romantic composer, one of the great composers of all time. And his Eighth Symphony was nicknamed the Unfinished Symphony because, drum roll, he didn't finish it. He only finished the first two movements, but they are fantastic movements, short as it is, especially that first movement, one of the most famous things Schubert ever wrote. I first learned about it from watching the Smurfs as a kid. It's that da 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 da. You know that. All right, so we've already talked about Giuseppe Sinopoli with regard to the Mendelssohn Italian Symphony. It is coupled with, if I can find it, here it is. It is coupled with the Schubert Eighth Symphony, and this is also a fantastic recording and my top choice for that symphony. It's beautifully played, beautifully recorded. It's a little slower, maybe in that first movement than some people might prefer, but it's very dramatic. He builds that mystery of that beginning, and then you get the middle of the movement, and it's just so dramatic. And this recording does it full justice. So that's the Eighth Symphony. The Eighth Symphony is often paired with the Ninth Symphony, nicknamed the Great. So I'm going to address couplings of both the Eighth and the Ninth in just a moment. First, I'm going to discuss my top choice, however, for the Ninth Symphony, if you are keen to get that by itself. Now this one, I am actually going to recommend a mono recording. Yes, mono, 1951. This one is with Furtwängler and the Berlin Philharmonic. And this is actually one of Furtwängler's most recommendable recordings. It's sort of like a gateway recording for people getting into Furtwängler, precisely because of the reason that it is so well recorded for its time, and it's in repertoire that he knew like the back of his hand. He does the Schubert Ninth, which is a more, like, obviously compared to the Eighth, since he actually finished it, a more grand symphony. Dramatic, powerful, and Furtwängler brings all that home in his interpretation, which makes the most of all the climaxes and paces everything in a way that it all just makes sense. I'll be honest, I didn't even like the Schubert Ninth Symphony until I heard this recording, so I highly recommend this one. Now, if you want to get both symphonies together, an excellent choice, and one that is very celebrated, is this one from Joseph Krips. The Eighth Symphony is recorded with the Vienna Philharmonic. It was recorded in 1969. And then you have the Ninth Symphony, which was recorded in 1958 with the London Symphony. They both sound fine, though. In fact, more than fine. They both sound fantastic in the Decca. I mean, this is vintage Decca sound. And Krips was one of those conductors who was, non-interventionist, just let it happen naturally, but he knew his stuff. And these are immaculately paced Schubert recordings. They're not maybe the most dramatic you can find, but they do the job. And you might even argue that for a composer like Schubert, as opposed to, say, maybe Beethoven, that it actually worked better to have someone who wasn't maybe overly emotional or overly dramatic. Perhaps. These are great recordings, however you cut it. Now for something a little, now that's, Krips is a little bit on the sort of traditional heavy side. For something a little lighter and swifter, we have George Szell and the Cleveland Orchestra. These are from the late 50s, and these are fantastically energetic, light on their feet, especially number 9. The finale is just really exciting. Of course, crisp, clear, all those things you expect from Szell. This is a classic recording. A slightly newer recording, this one comes from 1995, comes from Günter Wand with the Berlin Philharmonic, recorded live in 1995. Now Wand is also, like Krips, not the most exciting, overtly exciting conductor around. Like I was saying in his Bruckner recordings, the genius of Wand is the way he just patiently paces things and lets the power of the music come, be felt over time. And I would say that is the case here. He doesn't, hit you over the head with the drama. It's not necessarily the most exciting, viscerally exciting recordings, but it's one thing, it's just beautiful. It's just gorgeous. And it does the job. And by the time you get to the end of the 9th, the crowd is jumping to their feet and applauding like they should be. So this is a really, really good recording in digital sound. Finally, for the 8th and 9th, if you want them together, I'm going to go back again to Furtwängler. This is from a concert of the 8th and 9th, recorded in 1953 with the Berlin Philharmonic. And the 9th here is, I would say, even better than the one that he did for Deutsche Grammophon in the studio. Good as that one is. And they're both great. But this one, you also get the 8th. And what Furtwängler brought to the 8th was just this great drama. I mean, it's his music. I don't know how else to put it. He understood that. It's kind of like when you're talking about Talich and Dvorak. When you hear Furtwängler doing Schubert or Bruckner or Beethoven, you're hearing something that's like, idiomatic, and it sounds like something he was just born doing. And the sound quality in this recording is great for a live recording from the 50s. One of the best that Furtwängler got with the Berlin Philharmonic. This is another one that you can find in this box, like I was talking about some of the ones earlier. Let's see, did I skip any? We mentioned the Beethoven 5th and 6th from 2 concerts, 1947, 1954, both fantastic. Also the Brahms 3rd that I mentioned earlier is in this one. And then we have some great Wagner, which we're not covering in this video, but then we also get this Schubert 8th and 9th. So this is really a set to get if you are interested in Furtwängler, because his best stuff was his live recordings. And not only are these great interpretations, the recordings are really good too. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I hope you'll also take time to click the like and subscribe buttons. And with that, I want to wish you all a great day and happy listening.